What's up, you guys? It's Rob here. Today we're going to be going over ticker symbol SNDL. It was known as a meme stock, kind of still is a meme stock, and also ticker symbol THCX, which is the cannabis ETF. So you really aren't familiar with these stocks. It's really a long-term play. Most marijuana or cannabis stocks are going to be considered long-term plays. They're not really a short-term cash grab kind of thing. So when you look at these stocks, you're going to want to be thinking about the long term and not just thinking about 6 weeks or 6 months from now, but a minimum of at least a year to 3 years from now kind of thing, because a lot of people are hopping on the hype train behind Biden and hoping that these stocks do get legalized and marijuana does become legalized throughout the United States. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hop on into the charts. We're going to be going over some fundamental analysis. I'm going to take a look at the balance sheet of SNDL, and then we can take a look at the holdings of THCX. Also, I need to grab my blue light glasses because I don't want to hurt my poor eyeballs. Save your eyeballs. But before we hop on over, drop a like on the video, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell. Down below, I also have linked to Webull, which you can get 2 free stocks when you join up. One for depositing, one for depositing $100, and then the other one for joining the platform also. And you'll get both of those stocks once your deposit is verified on the platform. So it's a good way to help out the channel. I do get a free stock as well myself because I am a Webull affiliate, so it does help out the channel. So let's go on, hop on over here into the internet browser and take a look at SNDL. So really, when it comes down to SNDL, what I looked at was the company is definitely a company that is growing and definitely does have a lot of potential. But currently, the huge thing that I see when I'm looking at this balance sheet right off the bat is their total assets was $510,036 last year, and then their total liabilities was $288,838, and then their gross minority interest was $221,198, and then their total capitalization was $232,711. And then the huge thing that I wanted to take a look at was their working capital. So their working capital is one of the huge things that you want to take a look at and understand the growth of a business. So their working capital was negative in 2019. And the one thing that I definitely noticed between 2019 and 2020, I don't have their 2021 balance sheet available to me yet, but once that's available, really the huge thing that I see from SNDL is they're reducing their liabilities, which is a really good thing, because with a company, if you want to become more liquid, you want to reduce all your liabilities, all your debts as much as possible, which is what they are in the process of doing. So when I take a look at this stock, it's not really a stock that I'm looking that's going to be taking off right away, unless if some news catalyst drastically changes and Biden says, all right, we're legalizing marijuana across the board kind of thing. So really not looking for that to change, but let's go on and hop on over here, the Fintel. Now, Fintel will tell us the short interest along with the short borrow fee and roughly about how much of the volume is being shorted within SNDL. So when we're taking a look at this in Fintel, we see a short volume ratio of 32%. So it's a pretty high short volume within SNDL. There's 10 million shares available to borrow in a short position, and the current short borrow fee is 1.28%. Now, the huge thing that I want to dive in on is there definitely appears to be someone either actively or kind of picking away at SNDL, because if you notice, this short volume ratio definitely does dip from 32 to 22 to 18. So you're looking at almost 15% swings sometimes on a daily basis of short volume. So all cut ratio is still at 0.88. So that's still pretty good. But the other thing outside of this that I want to go over is this. Now, this is back in 2019. I haven't been able to find anything recently, but Sndl was sued in the US for failing to disclose half a ton of cannabis that was returned by a client. And the huge thing that I want to focus on down here was the Canadian cannabis company became the subject of a class action lawsuit in the US for alleged failing to disclose that the customer returned a half a ton of cannabis because it contained mold and bits of rubber glove. So the product that they gave out, and they gave out a half a ton. That is a lot of marinara. Like, that is a lot. And to have it returned with parts of it being moldy and rubber gloves and all that kind of stuff doesn't say much for the company when they do take how they take care of their products. So this is like the one negative catalyst that I found. I haven't found anything that has happened since, but this is definitely something that kind of screams like a red flag in my head. So hopefully Sndl has been upping their facilities and understanding that this is a problem, and they've gotten it taken care of. And I'm happy that I haven't seen anything recently. So hopefully that means they're taking care of their product as they should. So let's go on and hop on over here into Webull, actually, and take a look at Sndl. So SNDL. All right, so let's take a look at it on the daily chart. So, okay, so this stock is pretty much just barcoding the whole entire way through. There's not really a steady flow. And most of the times, this is very indicative. Yep, it's a penny stock. So it's $1.10 a share right now, and it's having a volume of what? 116 million, and average is 535. That's interesting. It's a very, very, very low volume. But as you can see, this thing has been pretty much just this is called is barcoding. It's essentially just doing the same pattern, but going up and down with maybe within like a couple of cents within each other, because this is a penny stock. So personally, in my opinion, I jump between reading the news and all this kind of stuff. I'm not personally going to be wanting to invest in SNDL just because of this level of activity. And it's still barcoding here. It actually had some volume here, which is really interesting. So when it seems like the volume does step in, the price does move a lot. But when you just have this barcoding, you're going up and down between $1.12 and $1.12.4. So like, it's really not much of a price movement, and I'm not really going to be expecting this to move much, considering that the volume is literally a fifth of what the average 3-month volume is. So let's go ahead and step out here to a 1-month chart. Yeah, so when you see this just screams like a penny stock to me. And like, I think what a lot of people are looking at this Yahoo balance sheet and just saying that it's still a very young company and hasn't gotten up on its feet really yet and been able to reduce its assets. But just looking back now, this right here, this run up is the squeeze that happened on SNDL, and you can pretty much see this also in THCX, and you can see it in a lot of the marinara stocks, because this was when Wall Street bets kind of really shifted from GameStop and GME and AMC into all the marinara stocks. So let's go ahead and hop back over here to my internet browser, and we can go over THCX. Now, just wrapping it up with Sndl, I personally would not recommend it. It's not a stock that I'm going to be looking to get myself into just based off their balance sheet. I'll keep an eye on it. I'm going to put it on my watch list, so, and look at it that way. But right now, personally, I'm invested in CGC, which is Canopy Growth Company, and then APHA, and then Tilray, TLRY. Now, I know APHA and Tilray are set to have a merger at the end of the year. Not the end of the year, I think over summer. Correct me if I'm wrong in the video, please. But those are really the 3 players that I'm looking at. I know also, I think it's Aurora Cannabis, ACB, is going to be another one of the huge marinara stocks. And then there's people that always play OGI, because OGI seems to have a huge swing, and a lot of people tend to day trade it, kind of thing. But when it comes to just overall fundamentals and everything like that, I'm not going to be putting my money in the Sndl. I personally don't think it's worth it. So ending that, and then let's go ahead and hop over here to THCX. What we're taking a look at right now is the holdings within THCX. So when you have an ETF, you want to have a lot of THCX is a sector-wide ETF. So what this is doing is taking a bunch of stocks individually and throwing it into one bucket. So essentially what you can do is get the greater movement of that sector versus being heavily invested into just one stock. So it's more of a safer strategy versus buying individual stocks is more of a riskier strategy. I do encourage, like, I personally hold several ETFs just to balance out the volatility of my portfolio because I'm heavily invested in tech, and you want to have a balanced portfolio because you don't want to have days where you're literally just seeing 20% down days because every single tech stock is down. You want to try to be either combating that volatility in some way, shape, or form. But anyways, that's a little tidbit about ETFs. But THCX, really, when we take a look at this, its highest holder, surprisingly, is APHA. So when this merger goes through, APHA and Tilray will merge together, and I believe it's going to be a 2-for-1 stock split. So two APHAs become one Tilray because they're keeping the Tilray name. If I'm correct, correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section, please. But really, the first thing that jumps out to me is when I do a Control F in here, Sndl is not even within this. So for someone to put together an ETF and not even have Sndl within this ETF, and it's considered the cannabis ETF, it's kind of telling that a lot of people don't really believe in Sndl. So, but personally, if I wanted to get into marinara and I wanted to be safe about it, I would look at this cannabis ETF personally because it's the best thing to do. It's the safest thing to do. And you're going to be in the marinara field whether it gets legalized or not. Now, will your gains be as much if you're in there individually versus individual stocks versus the ETF? Yeah, your gains will be more exponential in the individual stocks than the ETF, but the ETF is the safer play overall. So, not a financial advisor, and this is like not financial advice or anything like that. Do your own DD, it's your own risk and all that kind of stuff. But personally, if I was doing this, I would be in the sector ETF, which is THCX. So let's go ahead and go over here on go in the Fintel and take a look at the short interest. So the short interest has short volume ratio is 34%, and then the shares to borrow is 250,000. And then we're also taking a look at a short borrow fee of 6.63%, which actually tells me that this is a heavily shorted ETF, and there's a lot of shorts here that haven't covered their positions. So definitely something that is it possibly a squeeze potential? It could be, but it's definitely one of those things that this doesn't really make much sense to me of why it would be such a high short rate borrow fee. So let's go ahead and hop over here in the Webull and take a look at THCX. So when we take a look at THCX as a whole, we can see that it's been moving pretty much steadily upwards. It did have that squeeze when Wall Street Bets did take over and squeeze pretty much most of the marinara stocks. And then we did have that fall off afterwards. And we've pretty much been going downward since we started that greater market correction. And we really haven't seen much of a hype behind legalization of marijuana. I feel like a lot of this is starting to be baked in because the Biden administration is expected to legalize it. But overall, personally, my thoughts are if you're looking to get into the marinara sector within the stock market, best thing to do is to start with THCX. It is a sector-wide ETF that does cover a lot of the high-rated companies in the marinara field. Personally, I hold CGC, Tilray, and APHA. Those are the three marinara stocks that I hold, and I will continue holding for a long time because I'm playing them for the long run. I'm not expecting anything here in the short term. When I get the opportunity to, I always dollar cost average my way down so I can exponentially grow my gains in the future, kind of thing. But if you guys have any questions, drop them down below. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. You know the thing. We will link down below and all that kind of stuff. But if you have any ticker symbol recommendations, feel free to drop them down below. I will gladly do some DD on it, just like I did here, kind of thing. And if you have anything that have any suggestions or anything like that for me to take a look more into, I'll be more than happy to. See you guys in the next one. Peace.